Welcome to Gazali. It is said that awareness is the best agent for change. And in Goa, we really need to be aware about a career option in the civil services. We in Goa are only exposed to a limited few traditional career options like medicine, engineering, law, and so on. But a career option in the civil services is not looked at very well. I'm privileged here to be representing the youth of Goa as Elton Furtado, a final year student of VM Salgaonkar School of Law. And today I have here with me Mr. Aashay Abhyankar, who is the mentor and director at Abhyankar's IAS Academy. And he has already done his LLM and at present is pursuing his PhD. He's also previously worked at the Security and Exchange Board of India. He's part of a family which has almost 8 members in the civil services. Welcome, Mr. Aashay.
Thanks a lot, Elton.
And it's
pleasure
indeed a very warm welcome to you here.
Yes, absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Now, as we know that we are here to talk about civil services.
That's
and
right.
in Goa, civil services is rarely looked at as an option in looking at a career.
Yes.
But can you tell us a little more about civil services in general?
Yes, you see, there has now been a shift from people who are looking at a job in the private sector to looking at more options that are going to be available in government recruitments and job processes. The reason is very simple. There has been a shift in the IT sector today. People are looking out for job security, they are looking out for job enhancement. The role and the ambit of, you see, the government is also expanding. It's no longer a doer, it's also a facilitator. So the entire role of a civil servant, the kind of career opportunities he has, issues of working and getting inputs with the private sector through public-private partnerships are really expanding the scope, making it very challenging and interesting. Earlier, people had certain reservations with regard to remuneration and other aspects, but the 7th Pay Commission recommendations are allowing you to have a very comfortable life, a job that is secure, job diversity, and a very, very high level of greatness in terms of what you can do for yourself and for the nation.
But when we look at civil services, the one which is known to everyone is just IAS. But is there any other services which is actually not looked at?
Yes, actually the UPSC Civil Services Examination conducts recruitments to the All India services, which are basically the IAS, the IPS and the foreign services, the forest services, sorry. And in addition to that, you have a large number of central services and allied services, those that are not publicized. In addition to that, the UPSC also conducts exams for technical, non-technical career options. You have the state services. So basically, the preparation for the UPSC would allow a person to sit for any kind of civil service examinations, provided they are non-technical. So once you prepare for this, you have a large number of government exams that you can give, and if there is some amount of dedication, determination, it should not be a problem at all to have a system wherein you are able to, crack the exam and also get on with a good career option.
Now, when we look at civil services in Goa, in general, everywhere in India, there's a negative presumption regarding civil services being like, under the politicians, they have to work only as a yes sir person.
Right.
What is your say about such a presumption?
You see, the civil services is the steel frame of India's administrative structure. The politician is not to be seen as you see an opponent or an adversary, but he is also facilitating service delivery. He is facilitating a betterment of citizens' participation. So you need the bureaucrat and the politician to work hand in hand. Most of these issues with regard to political interference and other things, they are also in most cases exaggerated. Things like that really don't exist. Like you mentioned in the introduction, I come from a family that has a large number of people who are in the civil services, people who have served, who are currently serving. And I have never ever, even in terms of dinner time conversations, we have never ever come across any kind of negativity with regard to the administration and the politician in general. So that won't really be a situation that is a pressing point in taking a decision. You have challenges that exist everywhere. The private sector also has its fair share of challenges. You don't really ever choose your boss, but you can choose your work. So you have to work around, at the end of the day, you see, administration is about people's management. You must learn how to manage them in an efficient, effective manner so as to allow for a optimization of output.
That's great. Now, when we look at UPSC as an exam, uh, what is the whole structure and the procedure of answering this particular exam?
Right. So the exam is open to any person who has a graduate degree from a UGC recognized institution, and you have a fairly long age limit. So it's 21 to 32 for candidates who are from the general category with 6 attempts currently. And under those who are claiming the benefit of reservation, there is an age relaxation of another 5 years with an attempt every single year. So the exam generally is conducted in 3 phases. You have a prelim exam that happens ideally in the month of May or June. It's more of a sifting kind of a process, followed by a written examination and a personality test. On an average, the UPSC Civil Services has close to about 1,000 vacancies every year. They have risen over the past decade or so. And you have recruitments to all these services, that is the All India services, the central services and the allied services.
Just a clarification
Yes.
regarding, is the foreign service also included in this UPSC exam?
It is. The UPSC Civil Services exam includes the foreign services. Generally, the foreign service, the administrative service and the police service are merit based on the basis of your rank. So if you have a rank in the top 100, you have a very fair chance of selecting what you want and also getting that in terms of an option.
Okay, and as we in Goa, like, we are called the Susegal people and we love Goa.
Right.
Especially I do.
Yes.
So for a person like me who likes to be in Goa,
Correct.
is there an option if we join the civil services
Yes.
as an IAS officer or as an IPS officer
Yes.
to be somewhere in Goa at some
That's
point
right.
of time?
Goa was a erstwhile union territory, so it still comes under the Agmut cadre, which basically includes the union territories along with Goa and Mizoram. As of now, currently speaking, there is no separate cadre for Goa. It could be in the pipeline in a few years down the line. But if you do select a preference with regard to the Agmu cadre, you can definitely come and spend at least 1/3 of your time in Goa in terms of your career span.
That's great. And what about the whole syllabus aspect? What exactly is covered to actually answer this exam?
Yes, you see, the UPSC was earlier more of a bookish exam, but post major changes in 2013, it's more linked to current affairs today. It's more understanding based. It was always focusing on qualities of precision, clarity, being concise, you see, to the point. But its interlinking with current affairs is very interesting because the kind of questions that are asked to you, your responses are based out of happenings in India and around the globe, you see, in a time span of about a year and a half or 2. So in that sense, you see, the exam is open for any person who has a very high degree of keenness to his environment, you see, to things happening in India and around the world, is able to form an opinion that is based on fact and is able to articulate it very well.
So does that mean that if a person wants to answer the civil service exams, needs to specifically choose arts as a option after 10th?
Not really. You see, back home, over the past 3 years, all the students that have cleared from Abhyankar's IAS have been from the engineering background. So that is really not a prerequisite, but a humanities program definitely does more to your career enhancement for the UPSC as compared to a science background, purely because of the diversity of subjects that you study. A whole lot of information about economics and political science and others, sociology, are subjects that you are studying, you see, in your +2 plus in graduation. So that would definitely be a shot in the arm. It would be an advantage. But having said that, any kind of graduation degree is good enough, provided you have the mind in you to actually, you see, prepare well, have that kind of persistence to get through the exam.
And what about, what would you suggest? A person who wants to answer these exams should join an academy or should study by himself? Which would be a better option?
You see, the only an academy wherever you take any kind of professional help. The purpose is not to make you pass the exam, but to give you the right direction. This exam has a very vast syllabus. The syllabus primarily is one that encompasses a wide range of subjects. So you have economy, science and tech, environment, ecology, history, geography, political science, international relations. So because the syllabus is so vast, you see, it needs some kind of hand-holding in terms of a direction to tell people what it is that they need to study, to fine-tune answer writing and essay, you see, because the UPSC is perhaps one of the few exams in the world wherein you don't find, you see, the teacher and the student ever meeting. When you're in a college, for example, your professors know who you are, they know your strengths and weaknesses. So here the only mode of communication between you and the UPSC is the quality of answers that you write. They should have a value of being very concise. They should have qualities that allow them, you see, to really communicate very well. All these things are going to need timely inputs. The word here is intervention rather than interference. So you see, a coaching institute will intervene wherever it deems necessary, and also allow you to have a time-bound kind of a preparation. Because since the syllabus is vast, generally students tend, you see, to expand the preparation into a longer span of time. So a year and a half of preparation in the year of your graduation or immediately after graduation should be a very good time to start off.
Okay. And is there any center in Goa, or where do students need to go to answer the exam?
We are generally operating out of Pune. We don't have any centers. As far as the UPSC is concerned, you have centers everywhere now. So almost every state has a center. Some states, in terms those that are slightly larger, have multiple centers for prelims and mains. It's an exam that's very easily accessible. It's free for women. You don't need to pay any kind of a fee. It's completely free. So this is an exam for the masses. It is not for the classes. It's a pan-Indian exam. You're trying to select the best from among those people who can run the country.
And once a person answers the exam,
Yes,
if at all he gets through it,
yeah.
How is the process of getting into the service at last?
You see, generally after if the interview, general merit list comes out, which is known as a civil list every year, and there is an extensive training thereafter depending on the kind of service that you are selected for. Most of the selected candidates, all of them, they undergo a foundation program in Mussoorie at the Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration, thereafter pursuing specialized training in different parts of India. You are on probation thereafter for a year and till you are given final charge.
And is there the lowest level of post that you start out with?
You are an officer. You are an officer in a very decisive decision-making capacity. Your powers are completely executive.
Okay. And we believe that your academy and you want to start something out in Goa because in Goa we lack the opportunities to actually answer this exam or even prepare for this exam.
That's right. You see, ICG along with the Bulletproof Initiative, which is the CSR arm of Madam Rosa, had crystallized a thought process of you see, in that sense, enlightening the Goan youth about a career in civil services. One of the principal catalysts of this was Father even from Don Bosco. We were here last year conducting a series of talks sponsored by the Bulletproof Initiative, just trying to gather and create a lot of awareness about whether the Goans really had it in them to become, you see, IS officers and to choose a career in civil services. The response was more than encouraging, very, very positive. The general feedback that we got from students was very positive. So we decided to launch, you see, a foundation program. This program is going to be a very comprehensive program that is going to be app-based. It would have physical classes twice a week and spans over 14 weeks. The idea is to basically prepare a very strong foundation for any person who wants to appear for civil services. So this is a program that is not restricted to the UPSC. So any aspirant looking at a government job which is non-technical under say state governments or the government of India is free to come and participate in this. It would be an enlightening experience. We are trying to weave in as much amount of current affairs with general studies, make it very dynamic, involve a plethora of speakers from a multitude of fields, and that's basically how we're planning to roll.
And is there any target group that you're targeting? Any age group?
Any person who is completed his 10th standard and thereafter, including people who are probably working pre-graduation, graduation, post-graduation. We're looking at all of them because it's a good idea. Like I told you, this is not going to follow a textbook kind of a pattern wherein we are going to try to weave in information through a book. We are going to make information more relevant, more discussion based. Written assignments. So it's going to be very dynamic and very, very helpful for any person, irrespective of what he plans to pursue in the future.
And where do you plan on having this course?
We have had a very good partnership with Salgaonkar College of Law. They have been very encouraging. So this program rolls out in mid-November, 17th precisely to be the date, and it rolls out at Salgaonkar College of Law and runs thereafter for 14 weeks.
And is it going to be conducted on a daily basis?
We plan to have 2 to 3 sessions every week, which would be extensive sessions, followed by, a self-evaluation kind of a model. So we've been running this program back home in Pune at our center, and it's been throwing out some amazing results. So we're really hoping for something similar like this to happen in Goa as well.
Okay, that's great, that's great. And what about the speakers who are going to be coming down for this program?
So the idea was to try and bring in some hands-on experience with practical advice coming from certain people who are running NGOs, people from the civil society, serving bureaucrats, academicians. So yes, there's going to be a nice mixed bag of people who are very accomplished and who would make a very positive impact to students.
Okay, and in Goa, sometimes it's a small state, the resources are limited.
Yes.
Some students might not be able to afford to come for this course. Is there any option for them to actually
Yes, absolutely. In our interactions in a lot of schools in North and South Goa, we realized that the economic factor could be, a stumbling block to a person to unleash his real and potential talent. So we were very thankful this idea was discussed and with like-minded, philanthropic minded people in Goa. So we have the Bulletproof initiative, like I was mentioning earlier. They were the catalysts to organize talks for us here, and they have been, more than giving in that nature, or rather more than being human, as you would say. To fund 3 scholarships to deserving candidates. These are going to be given to people solely on the basis of their economic background, so that you don't want merit to be clouded by any kind of financial obstacles. We have also had Mr. Oscar, who is administrator of Sharda Mandir. He runs his own CSR known as the Joy of Giving Foundation. And he has also been very giving in that sense. So his foundation also offers 1 full scholarship to any deserving candidate.
If we look at the history of Goa, I think the number of IAS officers or any officers in any of the central civil services can be counted on the tip of my fingers.
That's right.
You think, is there any particular reason why Goans do not opt for this as a career option?
You see, that's a very, very pertinent question, because if you look at states like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Rajasthan, they have traditionally been sending a large number of people into the civil services. Now, the reason for that is because, these states were not industrialized. They did not have multiple career options. So when a person studied and graduated, the only thing that he wanted was a security of job, and the government was the only provider. So a large number of people from these states not only entered the civil services but also went into the banking sector, into the SSB, and went in for CDS. Goa, on the other hand, in spite of being a small state, had multitude of other options. So you had mining, you had fisheries, you had tourism. You had a large number of Goans also pursuing careers outside, in Europe. You see tapping tourism sectors there. So they really did not have much of information about a career in civil services. Today, you see, those are tried and tested options. They are still available to Goans here, but you see, you can't remain in the box and think out of the box. So you will have to think out of the box. You will have to highlight you see Goa on a national map. And it's got nothing to do with talent, because I would say in terms of a small state like Goa, if you see the educational institutions here, whether there are schools, colleges, you see specialized colleges, take for example the Goa Medical College. It has such a long history. You take engineering colleges here in Goa, they are producing the finest. So if you go in for you see the tried and tested path, rather than taking the you see the road less traveled, you're really not going to make much of a difference for yourselves. So if you can encourage more number of people to contribute, you see for self enhancement and for national enhancement, that should be a very good option.
Is there any scope for Goans actually to look at this option as a career?
There is. You see, one of the biggest advantages that the Goans have is their command over English. It's a very big advantage. So whenever I've been visiting schools and colleges, and I'm impressed by even kids who are in the 8th and 9th standard, their general sense of awareness, their personality development, their interest towards creative pursuits, whether it be music. So they have a very well balanced personality. So if you're able to tap the academic potential, which is already latent, and just bring it and manifest it better, I think they could do wonders, and that's the reason why we're here.
And just a curious question, is there any Goan in your academy in Pune?
Yes, this year actually Goa has, for its state, in terms of its size, we have a very good representation. So there are 5 people from Goa, Goans, who are studying back home in Pune. They are a brilliant lot from diverse fields. So we have somebody who's done engineering, we have a lawyer, we have a science graduate. So it's a very interesting mix.
And tell us something about your father, who's the one who's actually started this whole Abhyankar's IAS Academy.
Yes, you see, when the Abhyankar's IAS was started by Dr. Ajit Abhyankar, his idea was to make education a very holistic kind of an initiative. So it was to try and weave learning with practical issues, link it to current affairs, to develop a nimble-minded approach with a lot of keenness towards learning. So in fact, he had coined a very interesting tagline for the academy, and that was that we pay you see major attention on minor details. And I think that is the credo of excellence that we are carrying forth with. So it's his vision. You see, it's a Ferrari car, I'm just the driver. So that's exactly how it runs today.
I think this is a great opportunity for the students in Goa to actually avail this foundation course, which is being provided by Abhyankar's IAS Academy. And we thank Mr. Aashay for being here with us today.
Thank you so much.
And
Pleasure is all mine.
Interaction with us, because it's very important that we all are aware about the civil services as a career option, and we take this opportunity with open arms and enroll ourselves for this course.